boy, do we have a crazy wrench to throw into the Brady-Belichick timeline. Back when Brady was still with the Patriots and tensions were running as high as ever between him and Belichick, there were conversations between Brady and ownership on a new head coach in New England. In fact, Brady named one specific coach on his wish list that he wanted to take over for Belichick. We're going to cover all that, and we'll also dive into the real reason for why Belichick let Brady leave in the first place. We've previously talked about why Tom Brady wanted to leave New England, but we barely even touched the subject on how Bill Belichick let him walk out that door. And not only that, but maybe Belichick was happy to no longer have to deal with a player who, in his eyes, had become a distraction. So to start things off, we're going to be going over the timeline that led to Bill Belichick almost mutually departing from the Patriots. And thank you to the Coldest Water for sponsoring this video. First off, Tom Brady was not the same Tom Brady who Belichick once adored. This version of Brady would crack borderline trash talk on Twitter despite Belichick's spine-chilling fear of social media. Then he started to skip OTAs and had become unhappy playing for the coach who caused ripples in the relationships of some of his favorite all-time targets, Danny Amendola and Gronk. And maybe more than anything, Brady had long eclipsed Bill Parcells' old anti-celebrity quarterback saying. Parcells was, of course, Belichick's mentor, and so much of what we see from Belichick today goes back to his days working with Parcells. If you want to go back and examine this, then look no further than Belichick's Browns in 1993. Vinny Testaverde is out due to a separated shoulder. Next in line is Bernie Kosar, perhaps Cleveland's most beloved player since Jim Brown. And sure, Kosar was past his prime and audible too much for Belichick's liking, but he could get down the field and score. Yet what does Belichick do out of the blue? He cuts Kosar and leaves the team in the hands of Todd Philcox, who was known around town as the guy with the clipboard. Philcox went out there the next game and threw for 85 yards and 2 interceptions in a blowout loss. The Browns went 2-6 for the rest of the year as Belichick had filed a player in at the most important position in the sport, like it was a gunner on the kickoff team. Remember, it also didn't take Belichick long to bench and ship out his old Patriot franchise quarterback to Buffalo. And yes, you might say, well, that was because he had Tom Brady, and that's what I thought for years. But then Brady wins 2 more, and now the Patriots have to start paying him. Also, despite popular opinion, Brady was usually amongst the highest paid players in the league, but this is Tom Brady we're talking about. He could have easily demanded more as the Patriots racked up win after win to the point where he could have always been the highest paid player in the league. So in the end, it was always a good deal for the team, and that's where the reputation comes from. Anyway, the last time Brady was the highest paid player in the league in 2010, that came after intense negotiations where Robert Kraft had to step in and protect Brady. This was the first major ripple in the relationship and signs of an ever-growing crack in the dynasty. In fact, in the book The Dynasty by Jeff Benedict, it says, that year Brady feared that Belichick might soon move on from him. He re-signed with the Patriots only after Kraft promised he'd protect Brady by stepping in and essentially allowing him to leave on his own terms if Belichick ever decided to trade him. Their unwritten understanding had been the key to keeping Brady in New England for so much longer than any other player who'd played under Belichick. The only reason Brady stayed that long in New England was because Kraft stepped in. If it were up to Belichick, it probably would have been a Brian Hoyer-Ryan Mallett battle for a while, and it certainly would have been a Jimmy Garoppolo-led team in the late 2010s. Belichick acts like any NFL quarterback could be picked up at Foxborough High School.
In Foxborough High School.
Let's remember this excerpt from Benedict. Giselle pointed out how ridiculous it was that after all these years, Belichick still treated Brady like effing Johnny Foxborough. It was bad enough to never voice approval. It was BS to still be dressing down the most accomplished quarterback in league history during team meetings. Brady didn't want to be treated like Johnny Foxborough anymore. In Belichick's eyes, what does that sound like? A celebrity quarterback getting too big in the head, and had been too heavy in the wallet for a while. Belichick doesn't want that, no matter how many Super Bowl rings that quarterback has on his fingers. Because in Belichick's eyes, that player is too big for the team, and any player is replaceable. And in this case, that replacement was Jimmy Garoppolo. So after Robert Kraft took Brady's side and forced a Jimmy G trade, Belichick had just about had it. He was so mad that he started shopping around the league for other head coaching positions. He was rumored to talk with the Dolphins, Giants, Washington football team, and the Cowboys. Yes, Bill Belichick was mad enough at the Patriots that he started getting on the phone and calling the NFC East. And now Albert Breer, one of the most connected reporters in the league from Sports Illustrated, he went on the Patriots radio affiliate 98.5 The Sports Hub and said, if things continued on the downward between Brady and Belichick, that Tom Brady wanted, get this, Bill O'Brien to return to the Patriots as head coach in 2018. Now, real quick before you think of Brady, as a madman, one, Bill O'Brien as a head coach had just made the playoffs in 2 of the previous 3 years, with his leading passers being Brian Hoyer and Brock Osweiler. 2, Brady had some wildly successful years with O'Brien on the Patriots offensive staff. And 3, most of O'Brien's bad reputation comes from him as a GM. So in 2018, we had both Bill Belichick and Tom Brady reaching their limits, to the point where Bill O'Brien almost became head coach of the New England Patriots. All of this just makes that 2018 season, where the pairing won their 6th Super Bowl ring together, all the more amazing. Just like Kraft had said in the past, winning clears up a lot of problems. And that's probably why they stuck around for one more year before disbanding after a one-and-done playoff loss. If we take things back to today, we obviously know Tom Brady wasn't too big for a team to succeed, but he certainly changed when he moved to Tampa. I know most people think of that change as an avocado tequila change, but Brady really was renewed to the point where he bought back in. I think his last season was the single greatest season of leadership I've ever seen from a player. And if you don't believe me, then you gotta go and listen to what his teammates have to say about his legendary speech before the Super Bowl. Brady needed to get away from Belichick for that change to happen, and in the end it was the right move for his career. The question that still needs answering is on Belichick's end. Bill seemed a little too happy to have that rebel quarterback of his leave and bring in a veteran who bought into him and his program. Any moment Cam Newton gets, he'll talk up Belichick. And just to make things all the better for Bill, Newton also came at a cheap price tag. Of course, the next factor into the equation is Mac Jones. On a rookie contract, he'll check the cheap box, but the team still spent a valuable resource on him. A move that wasn't perceived as very Belichickian. But when Robert Kraft came out and said they were doing things a little differently this year with the draft, well, is it fair to put those two things together? Kraft had stepped in and taken control of the most important position on the field before, so could he have done it again? All I know is if Belichick really wanted Mac Jones, then he would have traded up before all those quarterback-needy teams could have taken him. In the end, Brady got his new coach who will let him do just about anything, and Belichick has new quarterbacks buying in at a cheaper cost. Theoretically, they both got what they wanted, but we all know what really matters to them and all of us.